want to take you to climb 100 feet up in the air to the top of a redwood tree. And I want you to come up there with me and see the squirrels jumping like ballerinas from branch to branch and tree to tree. I want you to see the fog rolling in from the ocean and enveloping the canopy. I want you to hear the call of our friend from the next tree over, who says that he wants to come over to have some coffee. He just needs to pull himself 50 meters across a horizontal rope in order to get there. This is what life is like in the trees. We have a series of interconnected ropes, and we do everything up there. The animals treat you like you're not even a human. You're more like one of them. And so much so that the first time I ever climbed a tree, there was 3 spotted owls who followed me up the whole way, just watching me with their eyes. And a few nights later, I woke up and there was a squirrel cuddling with me in my sleeping bag. And I just turned over and went back to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, the lid of my bucket was lifted off in the middle of the night, and there were 3 bites taken out of everything that I had. They're very mischievous. It's a really physically demanding thing to be up in the trees. You have to be very intentional. You have to really move like a squirrel pretty much. And you have to exist in 3 dimensions instead of 2 like we are in the ground world. And you really use every muscle in your body and every ounce of concentration that you have to do the most simple things like make a cup of tea or set up your bed to go to sleep. And a lot of people ask, are you afraid? Are you afraid of falling? And I think the answer is that so much strength is in those trees. And when you're there on the branches, you feel safer than anywhere else in the whole world. They're literally holding you up. And the passage of time is absolutely just mind-boggling out there. You can spend 5 minutes and it feels like 5 hours, or you could spend the entire day and it becomes dark like that. So it's a very mysterious place where you can't even quite feel the passage of time like when you're in the city. So I want to lead into some facts about redwoods, and that might help you understand why they're so important to me. First of all, they are one of the longest lived organisms on the face of the planet. They can live over 2,000 years, and they can grow to more than 10 feet in size and diameter. They're also the tallest living organisms on the face of the planet. And that's really amazing when you think about it, because our human technology, we only have the ability to pump water vertically up a vertical gradient as high as 33 feet. But the redwoods can do it up to 370 feet. That's over 10 times the amount that our own technology can do. And they're also the best ecosystem on the face of the planet to sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Not only do they sequester the most CO2 per hectare, they also actually accelerate and speed up their rate of storage as they get older, which means that old-growth forests and mature forests waiting to become old growth are the most valuable ecosystems that we could possibly protect in order to defend ourselves from the worst effects of climate change. You would think these would all just be protected automatically, right? Well, that's just not the case. There are millions of acres of redwood forest as well as Doug fir, spruce, various kinds that are in the hands of private timber companies. And their bottom line is to turn those trees into lumber to sell. And I think that we need a serious change in our priorities. We need to decide if it's more important to us to have lumber or it's more important to us to have a livable planet, because every time we cut these trees down, we're releasing that CO2 ultimately back to the atmosphere. And of course, if we preserve those forests, they are a really immeasurably wonderful carbon sink for the entire planet. And so I kind of bring into question the idea of which do we want, private profit or public commons? And that's a really big thing why the forest is so important to me. And I've found through my experience that there's really no other recourse that people have to protect these lands other than putting their bodies on the line, because there's just no system set up at all to do anything within the legal system about it. So people really have no option when they see the ecosystems that they love being destroyed than to climb up there and put their bodies on the line and physically stop the destruction from happening. This is from Berkeley Tree-sit in 2008. So coming back to that same idea, I want to get into an example of how direct action has been successful. Several years ago, this is an area called the McKay Tract, which is located in Humboldt County, California. It is the world's best area to grow redwoods. There is nowhere else that more of them grow or more quickly than these 7,000 acres right here. And one of the most mature and developed groves in this area was slated to be cut by a timber company, and in its place they wanted to build a housing development. Well, some friends of mine and I went out there, and when we entered that forest that was going to be cut down, the first thing that we saw was 2 spotted owls who were doing their mating ritual, and that was really awesome to see. It was like a sign to us. It was saying, this forest is special. This is a place that we really need to dig our heels in and commit to and put our bodies on the line in order to defend it. And so that's what we did. We got a bow and arrow, shot a line into the tree, and we climbed over 100 feet into the redwood canopy. And we made a pledge and a commitment to stay there until those trees were protected. A lot of people said, oh, that's never going to happen. Oh, the company just wants to make a profit. They're not going to listen to you guys. You're too small of a group to really do anything about it. But the word spread. People came from all over the country, from all over the world, and helped us piece by piece tie these trees together and build an extensive village that spanned over 55 trees and several acres and several stands of trees. It was a literal tree village where you could go from one end of the grove to the other without ever stopping at the same tree. It was like a giant loop. You could just keep climbing for days, pretty much. And it's one of the most special experiences I've ever had, to be able to live up there and be accepted by the owls and the squirrels as a member of the canopy. So direct action really works, and it's an important thing that helps put pressure on the companies from the bottom up, and it's something that we really need to be doing a lot more, because we have very limited amount of time to deal with some serious issues, mainly global climate change. And I don't see any real solutions coming from the institutional level, and I don't see any major progress being made, which leads me to believe that the only recourse that we have as citizens of the world is to step up and put our bodies on the line to defend the places that we love, wherever that is to us. And that's different for everyone. I think that we should all be doing that everywhere. So we won. It works sometimes. And when it doesn't work, you're still putting the groundwork for the next people to come along and to secure a real victory. So it's sort of this beautiful thing that opens up a world of possibilities. And when you engage in the system and you go through legal methods, you can always almost measure exactly what kind of outcome you're going to get. But with direct action, you're kind of hitting the reset button on history, and you're opening up the world to a whole new gamut of possibilities. And you may never ultimately know where the consequences of your actions lie, because people can be inspired by a single action. For example, in 1985, a man named Mike climbed a Doug fir tree in Oregon, and he became the first tree sitter in North America. He had no idea that he was going to inspire a movement of literally thousands of people over the course of 30 years who would come out to the forest and risk their lives in order to do the same thing that he was doing. That's just one example of the power of one person to inspire a whole movement of people. And today, from Eunice Stoughton to Santa Cruz, there are hundreds of people who are actively working on defending the forest through direct action and putting pressure on the system from the bottom up. We won. I want to leave you with this quote. It's by Gandhi, and I think he really has a lot of stuff right. He says, "Never doubt that a small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, can alter the course of history." And I want to invite you right now to imagine a place that means the world to you, that your heart would break if something happened to it. And I want you to go there the next time you have a chance. And I want you to close your eyes and connect with that place. And imagine what that place is going to look like in 50 years and 100 years. And then I want you to imagine what you want to see, what future it is that you really desire. And then I want all of us to put all of our skills and talents and passion and resources into making sure that that place continues on for as long as possible. And that's the hope of direct action right there, is the power of love to be able to change people's hearts and to be able to literally change the course of history and do something that people will tell you is impossible. That's what it is.